So go ahead.
Good. Hi, Thomas. This is Reinhart, and we will show you the ugliest update screen ever. Ta-da! Okay, here we go. So I have a script installed. So we're gonna cover a lot of topics, right? So this is the upgrade system. So I have a simple update tracker, and it's a script that's it's gonna actually look if there's a new version to download, right? So every time we upload a new version to the website, we're gonna upload a version file, and the version file looks like this. So current version. So it's like it has a product name, Asphalia. It has a version number, and then a download URL for Mac and a download URL for Windows. Every time we build a new Asphalia version, this is the one we're going to put on the website if everything was built correctly. And if you say go, more on that later. So this is the update UI. So I have a simple screen and I have an update controller. It has this simple update script. And depending on, when you start, it shows check for updates. Because the difference with Soundstorm is Soundstorm requires you to be connected online all the time. Your requirement is it should work with the USB stick. So you can choose as a user to check for updates, or you can run it automatically when you start up the application and then let the user decide what they should do. So if this UI is done, then we will start the next UI. Okay, there's a download available. If he finds a download, then he will propose to the user to download it. But it's not mandatory. Because I think it's important here to offer the choice. If you want to make it mandatory, it's of course a question of enforcing it in script. And if you have downloaded the software package, then it's going to offer to install. So what's going to happen is it's going to run Asphalia. If there's an installer downloaded, you can say, okay, I'm going to install it. Then it's going to run the installer and it's going to close the game. Because you cannot override an exe while it's running. And to briefly show you how that works, it's like, no, I have to switch this off again. Normally there's logic in the code, but Thomas will all read this and see it. It worked fine. So when I run Asphalia, this is Asphalia installed in my system. Yeah, it still shows the main with Unity. I have to fix something at the build server. So Wallonie, blah, 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 blah. And then, all your effort of 2 years gone down the drain because of this ugly thing. Check your updates. There's no update available. So it goes directly to the screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I have not tested the entire flow yet, okay?
Okay.
But basically, this is what's going to happen. So if I would go now to, so if you install Asphalia, it's going to install as a local user to your app data /local. It will create a folder Fantomata and then Asphalia. This is something that we still need to discuss. How are you going to manage the multiple chapters? Is it going to be Fantomata /Asphalia chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3?
Yeah. So
Depends.
the oh shouldn't it be the product? It's something that is defined in the project settings, right? The folder, how the folder he decides to install to.
So this is not defined in Unity. This is something that we define in the build and the install pipelines and the release
Okay.
pipelines.
Okay, because on Mac
Yeah.
it's defined in the on Mac it is defined in the project settings with a specific thing. And so, for example, if I install this Valia demo, it's not the same product name and so it installs the save files are saved actually in a different folder. Oh no, but that's the install folder, right? That's not the
Yes.
save. That's not the persistent data path. Okay.
No, 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 it's not a
Okay.
persistent data path. It's something completely different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This
So
is where we choose, and this is also what we have to choose when we create a damage. I always call it a damage file, a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
DMG. There we have to decide where will we put the question is, how do we distinguish different Asphalia versions?
Yeah, yeah.
And
It
certainly the new releases, not within, like this is Asphalia Chapitre 1. This will be this will have its own versions, but then when we come to with chapter 2, then we need a different flow.
yeah.
So to be discussed. I'm just gonna mess up the current version right now. So the current version is, so we always work with this version file. It's
Yep.
still an old version file. If I make this 100, then it should say that it has to download a new version.
Okay, yeah.
Because if the version on the server is higher, then we're gonna download it. So check for updates. Okay, that sucked.
Did you
That was
save?
not
Did you
intended.
save?
I think so, but I'm not sure what my version number is on the. Yeah, I tweaked the logic a little bit. I'm not claiming that it's all gonna work yet, but let's
Okay.
uninstall because getting this entire flow right just takes a ton of time. So right now you see I have two Asphalia versions. This is actually the one from Steam.
Okay.
I haven't uninstalled it yet, and this is the one that installed from, let's say, the WordPress site.
Yeah, okay.
Keep in mind here that we still have to decide. I have a question for you about that later, whether we will include here the version number or not. And I also need a nice icon to get it installed.
Oh, okay.
And I couldn't find it in the project. So
Yeah, I'll give you it's not in the project? Okay. What file format you need? Because the one you see on
iPhone.
Steam, it's yeah, maybe it's not there. Yeah, okay. I'll send you.
Steam uses is able to use PNG.
Yeah, it
If
uses
you are
different
using
things.
Linux setup, then
There's a
it's best with an
.ico.
ICO
Yeah,
stack.
yeah. I'll send you that. Okay.
Yeah. So I will come back to this later because what we also did in the meantime, let me check my list, is that we have created a crappy update scene in Asphalt. Okay. And there's progress and thing, but I cannot show that yet. So let's go to the release pack. And there was so much stuff done. Okay, so here we have the Windows pipeline. And if I build it, I have to run it for us. So I've enabled it so that it runs for my own branch.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, this update scene has to be the first scene that works, right? It's the first scene that loads within Unity. So you can see it here. This is a change I made. Here we have this simple update scene.unity. I've not put that in the normal branch, and it should be if def, with a conditional compile, because if not, your Steam will try to update with a different system than Steam, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be then specifically for whatever we do with WordPress, and the other one will be whatever we do specifically with Steam. Yeah. So when we build this is still the same logic. So your build system of what we made before, like the build pipeline, is still the same. The
Okay.
only thing I changed for now is I kept the packages local. Why is because it took too much time to upload, download.
Yeah, okay.
Now you will see, but I don't know if you actually ever use that functionality. If you click here on publish to download the drop file, you cannot drop it, download it anymore.
Oh, you can't? Okay. Yeah, I used to.
It's not a file share on my own server. I can enable it straight away if you want.
Yeah,
Uh,
I use it to notarize when I notarize for Mac.
I change it for Windows, not for Mac,
Okay.
because I know that you use it for notarization. So, but it's a matter of enabling this one and disabling that one. So, but don't worry too much about it. I'm optimizing my network where my server is running right now, and by next week it's going to be way easier. And then we can decide whether we upload or download or not, it's whatever, or we upload in a separate pipeline so that your actual build doesn't get, because sometimes otherwise it could take 8 minutes to upload, download, and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
And yeah. Then I made an installer pipeline. And what the installer pipeline does is the following. So first of all, it downloads the Windows build that we made,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you commit something, Tomal commit something, you're happy about it. It commits to the development pipeline, it builds a new Windows, it zips it and uploads it. Then we start with downloading the pipeline. So the pipeline artifact is the zip file that you know
Yep.
where the exes are in. We extract it and then we create a version file. So we create a version file that's inside uh, the it's going to be put inside the Asphalia installer.
Yep.
Then we code sign it with your certificate. And then we make a build out of it. So there's an inno setup file. So this
Yep.
is also something I changed in your project. I cannot see it in Visual Studio, but you can see it here. So if we go here to DevOps, Windows, there's the script, the PowerShell script that builds the installer.
Okay.
It's completely templated. So I did a little piece of extra effort. Why now? Because later on, when we come with new Asphalia versions, it's gonna save us a ton of time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So uh, it's something that you don't have to be so this innocent. So this script actually pretty easy. It just takes a ton of parameters. I will show you in the build pipeline how it works. And then when these parameters are complete, it says like build this template. And the template looks as follows. So what we say here is, I have an application which is called, you have to have a GUID, like a unique
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
identifier for your Windows program. It has a name, Asphalia. It has a version. It has a publisher which is called Phantomata and a publisher URL. So the URL I have not parameterized it yet, but actually what it does take is you say to this script, take everything, so use this script file, whatever you build in terms of setup, send it to this directory and take all the files that you need. So once this runs, it's gonna actually have a directory structure with Asphalia and then the game data and the typical contents that you would have from a Unity build, and it would put it all in this setup file. And then we sign the setup.
Okay.
And then we publish the setup and then we upload it to the site.
Okay. And so here's that's the question, right? How do we publish it to the site? Which we need to clarify with.
This, yes, this we need to clarify with the other guys. So you
And
see it's still,
the other part is also how we download it, because one of the things I think they didn't understand was that this was an automated thing, because like any person who purchases the game gets access to their unique download link, but like your
yes.
download link is not going to be the same as my download link. So everyone has a
Yes.
unique download link. So the
Yes.
question is, how do we download? uh,
Yes. But
because we need to be
I
able to
think
download with one unique link for everyone. So
there,
we might have to
there
create a virtual user or something like that, but it's gonna have to. Well, we'll see.
no, I think but that's why we need to have the meeting, and you're absolutely right about it. I think for the initial downloads of the user, that they make this kind of unique download link is not an issue
Yeah,
because it would always post. I just accessed my site via FTP. So here
yeah,
I have uploads,
yeah,
Asfalia, and we always have this structure. I don't know if it's large enough for you to see.
yeah. No, I see it.
Um, But we have here current version. So if you look at it, this one has, it says, the product is Asfalia, chapter one,
Yeah.
chapter two, whatever. The version of it is 1 point blah, blah, blah. The URL to download it on Mac is this, and the URL to download it on Windows is that. We can play with this, whether we want it to have with the URL here or not. This is the
Okay.
URL, which is as relevant for the update, not for the initial download.
Yeah, yeah.
Because,
But
well, of course,
the initial download, they'll just download it using their own link, and then they get the installer, and from there it installs on their PC.
yes, yes. So, in order to accommodate for this, so the installer is always the latest version.
Yeah.
This, if you see it here, and it's, I think it's still uploading actually. Yeah, it's still uploading. But the patches are with a specific version number. So we can write this version number to a certain file so that when people check on it, they can download it. This one is the one that's known by the WordPress site. And like I can say, oh, I download Asfalia, I bought it today. Tomorrow you publish an update. This one gets overwritten because what I truly hate, but this is also a design choice, Jean Gobert,
Yeah.
is what I hate is when you purchase software and you download it and you install it, and the first thing it does, it starts updating itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
I think when I'm buying something and I buy the latest version, when I install it, I should be able to run it straight away.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So this one is the one used for the initial setup, and it's always the latest version. And this is the one known by WooCommerce, and then the actual link to this gets obfuscated by the WordPress site with what they show there in their what was it, their mumbo
Okay.
jumbo.
So what you mean is, when we publish, we are not going to over. We are not going to update that file. We're not going to overwrite it.
We're gonna override it, but I first want to learn more about what they mean with their update logic. So this one,
By the.
so that it
Yeah.
looks like this is not a problem at all.
Yeah.
Each link is different. That's the download link. But in order to so that's,
Yeah.
but as far as I know,
So
for
this is.
WooCommerce, it goes like that. Is that we just have this Asfalia installer.exe
Yeah.
or this file or the DMG file for Mac. And then the download file will always look like a different download link.
Yeah.
But the way we upload it underneath, it's always the same file.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes. And so this WooCommerce will start first. What we need these guys for, however, is that access to these ones are only done by Asfalia itself, by the update logic. And we need to make sure that if Asfalia wants to download a new version, that it does not go look for, that you don't have to do all kinds of crazy shit with this download link.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
So
It should be. It should. We should be able to do
yes, and
to
that's
access
normally
either
super
through
easy.
FTP or SSH or. Oh no, because we
No,
can't. It's an HTTP. Yeah. Okay.
in HTTP, and what I always do for this kind of stuff is That's why I implemented an API key.
Mm-hmm.
If the API key gets injected by our own software, so if you see here, start coding, download product. Here in the request header of the HTTP header, I set the API key. This
Okay.
is known by you, me, and the guys from WordPress.
Yeah.
If they see a request coming in for this file with the API key, they allow it to download. This is something that maybe requires a little bit tuning for their side, but it's normally pretty easy to do.
Okay. Okay.
So this way, your setups or let's say your updates are secured because it's a shared secret. You know the the API key.
Yeah.
We use secure socket layers, so people never see that API key passing by.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like basic authentication in HTTP terms.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this will work for Windows, for Mac, for whatever.
Okay.
Good. So far, so where were we? So we have built this entire Tamoli. I've shown you. So yeah. So we had built the Windows installer, right? So yeah, I can download it right now because I made it local to my network. But via the real releases, it will be available. So now we had a successful release, and this is something that we also have to decide on whether. So now I made a release pipeline that goes straight to production. But you could say like I'm gonna make a system that's first I want to test the update, and if the update goes fine, then I push it to all my customers.
Yeah.
It's very similar to what we said here with, for example, Steam. Here we say test individual steps, but we could also say like, if Athena test is good, send it to Steam. So we've discussed release pipelines before, right?
Yeah.
So it's what I said, the nuclear option, you have to turn the key, I have to turn the key. If that is good, then everybody gets updated. What happens in the release pipeline is we get the version file, and I've made it like this is that the builds are chained. So we're gonna upload the lowest version number available. So first I start with Windows, it's gonna be build number 1. Then I make the Windows installer, that's build number 2. Then I make the Mac OS, it's build number 3. I make the Mac OS installer, it's build number 4. When I upload to the server the current version, I say it's number 1.
Yeah.
This way, if the version number is higher of Mac, of our Windows or whatever, it's always gonna update. There is something that we have to decide though. I have a preference, but you have to choose whether if we fix a bug for Windows, do we release a new Mac version as well? And vice versa.
Well, for one thing, there is not gonna be a lot of instances of Windows specific bugs that don't happen in Mac. So it's gonna be pretty rare. And I don't want to make the release pipeline too complicated to say like how do you detect that it has that the fix is for Windows or for Mac or whatever. You'd have to manually
That would
decide
be
that
very
you
easy,
make.
you know. Like if you would like to do that, you can have the current version. You can have one for Windows or for Mac. But
Yeah.
I completely agree with you that managing two different releases of the same game for two different platforms would be really awkward and difficult. And you know, then you would have to have it for Steam. Now I'm assuming that whenever we build a new Asphalia version, we're gonna push it to Windows and Mac on WordPress and Windows and Mac on Steam.
Yeah.
You correct an issue with one version, it gets deployed to all the rest. I think that's the best.
Yeah, I think it's first because the differences between Mac version and PC version are very little. Uh, Now, one thing that we might have to think about is later when we do like Android and iOS builds, because those are gonna be a completely different pipeline,
Yes.
anyways. So it's not gonna work in the same way. Um, so those will not have to worry too much about that. But maybe like the Android and the iOS builds, it might be that we just don't run them automatically. You know, when we or they only run for on a specific branch, something like that. I don't know. You know.
It depends really on what you want. My preference would be we treat them like any other builds. So if we correct something for Windows, or then it also goes into the Android pipeline. Actually, this is the power of the system
Yeah.
is that if we have a pipeline here, we have an Athena built Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Once we committed something to the development or the release pipeline, we're gonna build them all. The biggest difference gonna be in your release pipeline, and that's why it's interesting to split those up. So it's not the build pipeline that of Windows that publishes it to either Steam or to the to the Steam store or to the WordPress store. No, this is the release pipeline. And you might have a release pipeline, for example, for Android and iOS that doesn't go as fast as the Windows or Mac
Yeah.
because it's cheap to update Windows or Mac in terms of time. But with iOS and Android, you have to push it to the store. We can fully automate that. That's not a problem. We just run the Gradle project, we create the APK, and we push it to the store first in sandbox mode, or let's say you have an APK, you can download it, you can sideload it on your phone or on your Samsung Galaxy Tab. Test it. If it's okay, then we push it to the store. But actually, it's exactly the same logic.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
The same update process, but with whatever goes to the store, I would batch it in terms of like, if it's a critical problem, you release it straight away. If we, for example, have a kind of minor things like a translation that is not entirely well, or something that looks a bit quirky but is not of importance to the gameplay, then we can batch them up and then, for example, push something to the iOS store or the Android store every 2 weeks instead of every week. Anyway, when you look, now we are building in insane mode, right? So everything that we change in the code gets built. Once you go into a release mode, you're going to release every 2 weeks, maybe every month. In the beginning, you might have to release more because you're going to find bugs that you did not anticipate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with releases, we should never get to a thing where you have 1,000 releases for one Asphalia chapter one. That means
No.
it's going to be so buggy that the market's not going to like you anymore. It's,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's
It
not going to
depends
happen because it's not buggy.
if we add 1,000 new features. Hey, people are gonna love 1,000 new features. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding.
No, no, but if yeah, but that's the matter of release management and thinking about okay, if you have 1,000 new features, we're gonna batch them in 5 different chapters with 200 features, something like that. You know, it's you don't give them the features for free.
Don't we? I want to give free features.
Well, we can give a free features. It's like yeah, but it's yeah. But
No, we'll
you catch
listen
my
to you. We'll listen to you. There are a few features we know people will want, but we didn't put them in the scope because we didn't have the time. But we know they will. We plan to have
drift.
them at some point.
So we have a new installer version. Let's download it.
Okay.
So here we go. You see, I already downloaded it yesterday. You see, it looks ugly as fuck because I don't have a nice icon, but it doesn't matter. So downloading.
I thought urine was the name of someone. Urine. I
What?
thought I saw urine. You have your.
Ah,
And I thought it was urine, and I thought it was
yeah,
a
no,
weird name.
that's
Urine.
my
What's your name?
that's
My
my
name. My name.
that's my hour administration program to make sure that I don't get messed up invoices for you guys.
Yeah, I
It's
just.
it's an administrative part that's super necessary and that I truly hate.
Yeah, I just started using T metric to try it out,
Okay, yeah.
and I started using Notions as well, and it has some
I
integrations.
tried Harvest, I tried for that whatever stuff, but the thing is, my accounting program is Yuki,
Uh huh.
and it's like it allows for collaborative bookkeeping with your bookkeeper,
Uh
with
huh.
your accountant. So, and they also have a mini hour administration. It's not perfect, far from, but it does the job for now. So, come on, download. Yeah, by the way, I've implemented this all on the Soundstorm side while not having control over it anymore because I can't log in anymore. Something went wrong with an update, and my,
Okay.
I cannot administer my own site. I can still access it over FTP, and I found it important to have it with the WordPress because I could set up an Azure download service and stuff like that, but I want it to be as close to what you guys gotta use as possible. So,
Yeah.
allez. So what I've shown you how we create the installer. Designing the installer, I will show you that the installer is signed. I'm downloading it right now, but if you see the last installers of yesterday, if you go to properties, have a digital signature. Here we go. Contact at Fantomata, blah, blah, blah. And if we install it, you will see that asfalia.exe is also signed. But I'm
Awesome.
waiting for the downloads so I can show you properly. And let's see in the meantime if the current version was set up okay. View edit, reopen local file. 1.479, that's the latest version that was uploaded, 1.479. Now for funds, let's let's see. And I have not shown you the installation yet. So let's install an old version. So this was an old version of yesterday. And the installation process looks very simple. You can choose your language, English, French, Dutch. Create a desktop shortcut or not, install. As easy as that. So we don't allow the customer to choose his installation
Yeah.
folder.
Yeah.
Most of the time, people don't care. You just say click, 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 program files anyway. But we don't install in program files because of the Windows scrutiny. That's what I also explained before. And now it's just downloading into this one. And I hope with my update logic it has not broken. I have in the meantime also the update for this one. Local as file installer, yeah. So Say launch Asfalia right now because first I want to check the folder. If we go to C users Reinhart Nov data local Phantomata Asfalia. The current version is 462. This was the one I installed. It was my build from yesterday. Asfalia.exe has a digital signature also from Phantomata, so it's super. And in details, yeah, the file version of the exe is not entirely right. This is something I still need to do. It doesn't matter that much, but this is something that's done by Unity. I can
Okay.
override it with the installer, but is it worth the pain or not? But it's like I've never had a problem with that actually, because the real version information is in here.
Okay.
So if I run Stadia now, it should start the check process. There you go, ugly game number one. Check for updates. Why does it keep continuing? It should say no. Okay, let's put another version of it. In the meantime, I'm gonna build a new version just for fun. So what I do is, this is also interesting if you want to have a specific test. If I do run pipeline, I can choose the branch it's gonna build on. So this is the Windows installer branch. So this is my own branch where I do all mumbo jumbo. And then what I suggest is I integrate it together with Toma
Okay.
or with you, whatever you prefer. So I can explain also a little bit more about the quirky details. There shouldn't be any. I'm going to test it super well so that you guys can install it without a thing. Once this one is run, it's going to automatically start the Asfalia Windows installer, and it's also going to automatically start the release pipeline. This because now we're in the phase for rapid testing, right? So I don't have to do anything manual. Let's install this latest version because maybe it's because of an update I made. Um, this way of updating, yeah, this is something, of course, that you have, is that it's always going to say Windows protected your PC. But we explain this to customers. And once we are known by Smart Screen, once we have enough downloads, it's going to disappear automatically. Um, we install 10479. Good. With the desktop shortcut, why not? And what I can do is to fake it is I can play with this version file as well to show. I can actually also show it in Unity probably, but yeah. Whoops.
Does this create a desktop shortcut?
Wait. I didn't hear you. Can you repeat?
I was wondering if it creates if the installer creates or offers the option to create a desktop shortcut.
Yes, it does. Yes,
Okay.
it does. Yeah, I always skip that rapidly, but
Yeah.
you will
Yeah.
see here that I have an Asfalia
Okay. Cool.
button. And if I look at the properties, it's the one. Yeah. We can also expand on that. So it depends a little bit on you want. We can also have it normally nowadays with Windows 10 and Windows 11. It's going to automatically um, list it here.
Yeah.
So it's going to create a shortcut here, also in your taskbar. And if you look at the properties of that, because you can also choose to have it added here, but I think normally having, let's say, a shortcut here is enough.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
we need to have a specific menu item, like
Well, the good
underscore,
news is
like,
we start with an A, so it's gonna be in the upper.
yeah, so that's a bit, but it's possible. Yeah, we check it for updates.
Okay, we cross the
And
fingers.
so now let's mess this boy up. And the current version here, I put it to 450. But I think I know what the problem is, because you see, this is the old current version format. And for the updates, I added the Mac OS URL and the Windows URL in there.
Uh huh. Okay.
'Cause normally, it should say, if you check for an update, I'm gonna do it from inside Unity. I have a bagoo. But anyway, this is just the front end for the, so we check for the update. And let's take the console. Okay, let's see why this goes wrong. In the check for updates, we're gonna check for updates. If this one is good, it has to do with my toggle update UI. So I'm skipping from UI to UI here, and there's something going wrong in there. So, and my local client version is number one. Okay, and thank you for not starting the debugger attached to Unity. Okay, well, I'm not gonna debug it now, Django, but
Yeah. No, I agree.
the point is that it will. So what this will do is it will check if you have an update available. If it's available, then it's gonna say push the button,
Yeah.
download it. And if that's okay, and when it's downloading, I've made a tracker and it actually shows progress. Not the progress bar, but it shows your download
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then when the download progress works, then in the end it's gonna say, do you want to install it or not? Actually, I made the skip install button on the wrong place, because now it's with the install message, and actually we should show we should give the user the option to either download an update or start the game straight away. But this is simple control logic in here. And with this update tracker, it's just a messaging system where you can have messages sent and progress sent.
Okay, good.
So installing, we've shown progress and events. So I couldn't show it due to the bug, but that's going to be solved by tomorrow then. And then, yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then the upload of the installer. So for Windows, we are at 80%. Apart from, well, the biggest job to be done is build a nice update screen. Although I expect that if you look at the controlling logic, so it's just a simple. I've not made it as a prefab because I don't know enough about how you manage Asfalia internally, whether it should be worth to build a prefab. But here you have indeed, anyways, the handlers to the UIs and all the necessary scripts to run a download, check for a file version, skip a file version, etc.
Okay. Okay. Looks really cool anyways. And I'm sure it's going to be like for the UI, I we'll see. I don't want to spend too much time making a nice UI, you know.
Oh, no.
It might actually just be like a screen like very ugly. I don't know. The team might not agree, but
My personal idea would be that, okay, we have this starting up, Fantomata, Wallonie, good. Something here, well, actually, if I don't check for updates, if there's no update available, there is a screen that loads before this one in your persistent screen.
uh there is yeah, there's just a
So
persistence, yes.
an idea could be that,
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we do that on the persistent scene or not. I mean, it doesn't necessarily make much sense to have the persistent scene loaded too early, loaded before the update, um, because it does a bunch of stuff that we don't really need. Um,
indeed.
I think we will see, but try and make something very simple, because we don't want it to take like hours to load anyways, right? It's not a screen that most of the time, like the check for update, I'm gonna do it automatically so that people don't even have to worry about it, and it's just gonna be like a black screen like saying checking for updates, and you know, if there is an update available, if it's gonna be simple, we're gonna make it very simple.
And you just use the Asphalia
Yeah,
default
yeah, we were
background.
gonna use some Asphalia buttons and the
Yeah,
backgrounds, you
so,
know.
so that's easy enough.
Yeah,
It's a question I wanted to ask you whether you want to have an automatic check or you would have the user push a button.
I think
Personally, I think automatic checking, like you just said, makes most sense.
yeah, because most of the time, you know, you just want to get into the game, and there's no updates, so you know it checks it, and voila, there you go.
Yeah, because the problem is you're gonna have a ton of support. Suppose that you have 1,000 copies installed and there's a serious bug and it doesn't check for updates automatically, then you're gonna have a ton of people on your websites asking what's wrong, and with the updates,
Yeah,
we could even, you could even nudge him with a little bit of text of like, it's always important to update, respect this process, blah, blah, blah.
I
Um,
need to first actually do a some sort of a ping, you know, to see if there is actually a possibility to download the update, and only if it's possible use the internet, then we actually proceed to do the update, because if they don't have a connection, it might like there might be like a timeout or whatever that keeps the screen, excuse me, loading for too much time
Yeah.
unnecessarily. Okay, but
Yeah.
we'll see all the details later.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
now, we've got an almost working thing.
Yes. It's so stupid. But the thing is, like,
I really feel sorry for you, because I know how it's cool to show something that works, and how it sucks
oh,
that
no,
it
no,
doesn't.
I'm used to this. Never give a demo. It's simple. Never give a demo.
Yeah, yeah.
No. It worked yesterday, but then I started changing some stuff tonight, and then I broke it probably. So, but I'm not gonna debug it and waste your time on it.
No, it's okay.
Trust me. Yesterday I had a flow where um, install a version. In the meantime, a completely new version is created, and then it said, okay, you have a new version available on the cloud, and then it would download it, and then it would also say like install it. But I just wanted to show that flow. Yeah, can I do it? Yeah, but the thing is, I cannot quick fix because quick fix means
No,
go through the
don't
entire
worry, don't
tutorial.
worry, don't
I
worry.
will make a movie. I will make tomorrow night. I will make a movie about it, how the experience.
Well, it
And
is all recorded, so it's there for
what?
posterity.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Oh God, Thomas. Don't leave me for this. You're gonna have this too. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Okay.
an interesting one. I also did the research in the meantime on how to go for Mac.
Uh huh.
Um, I'm not entirely sure yet, and I think that we need to test this together because now we have a notarized zip file, as file.zip, blah blah.
Yeah.
Then we have to make a DMG file out of it and notarize that one too. What I'm not entirely sure of is, okay, Asfalia on Mac is gonna test if there's a new version available. That's perfect. That's the same with SoundStorm.
Yeah.
But then what's happening? Is it gonna install a new DMG file or install or let's say download the new DMG file with the new version and then install that one? But does that mean that you have to drag and with the DMG you always have to drag it to your applications folder?
Yeah. No, that's not gonna that's not gonna
I don't want that as
work.
an update experience.
Yeah, because you're gonna have to overwrite, and people are gonna be scared that they're gonna lose their save or
Yes.
whatever.
So this is something that we have to test for together. But in order to create a DMG file, I found this amazing script through on GitHub, which, okay, I did not see it yet. That it's, okay, 4 months ago. That's not too bad. That's not too bad, but you can easily install it and then based upon the zip file, the source folder, like asfalia.zip or I know actually asfalia.app, which we zip later on with Tito and notarize. We use that one to create the DMG. So with this linky, we should be able to create an installer pretty quickly. I've read some good remarks about this GitHub project.
Okay.
Um, it is not a certainty that it's going to work fine, but anyway, it should help us by creating a good. Uh, so notarize the disk image. It even waits in staples with key state
Oh,
storage, but
that is awesome.
you
That
have
is
the
awesome.
disk image and you have the yeah
Yeah, it does everything. Yeah.
the onions. Layers upon layers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
the Asfalia.app and its contents folders and stuff like that have to be done as well, and then later on. And if you look at Asfalia.zip, later on it's also going to have, but not in the contents folder, there will be the current version.
But we just need this zip. Do we need the zip? I mean,
If you have a DMG file, no.
because this
I don't think so.
even so, I mean, I when I notarize, I have to send a zip to the notarization server, I think, or something like that. But it notarizes the app, doesn't it? I'm not sure now. I'd
This
have
is
to.
something that's why I would like to. That's why I think it's important that we do this together.
Yeah, yeah, we'll have a look at
Because
it.
we will have to look at the Apple Developer Portal because I know for one thing that um, the signature key that we use now for notarization cannot always be used for creating an installer. So it's either with messing around with the entitlements file or messing around with that with the Apple Developer Portal that we're gonna say, okay, this is for the app, and this is for the installer, and then we'll see.
Okay.
But I think it's best to do this together because you have a
Yeah.
better Mac than I do.
Yeah.
So and
Okay.
you also have the relevant keys where I don't.
Yeah. I have the credentials. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. So it's better to. But I think this will be this part on Mac will be easier than the Windows part.
Okay.
And the bulk of the work has already been done. You know, like doing it in the pipelines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All I have to do here is amend it that it creates this uh, version file. And actually, that's not even been done here. That's in the installer. Yeah. So in the installer here, I make a version file, right? And I insert it, and then I sign, blah blah blah. This version file, I can as easily have it in here. Then it always has a version. So don't worry about that. That's going to be out of the box. It's going to be easy. The scripts are based upon my SoundStorm macOS scripts as well, so they should be compatible. We just need to test.
Oh.
And then yeah,
Oh. Okay. Okay. Um, my brain is starting to melt. So
yes, I know, I know,
I,
I
I've
know.
I've had a very
Yeah,
long day today. But
it's same for me. It's the same for me.
okay.
Um, there is just one thing I want you to be aware of.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely because you want to release on the 28th, right?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if we have time enough left.
I don't know. But
How far are you in terms of the
we
gaming?
don't necessarily need to have the release part of the update working. What we need to be sure is that we have the update part working so that we release the game, it is there, people can download it, people can install it, people can play the game, and then uh, once we do our first update, then that's when we have the update pipeline that's going to run. um, and because the we can work on it until the first time we actually update the files. You see what I mean?
Yes, but that's not how it flies. The thing is, if there's something wrong in your update logic with your first installer, then it might never be able to download an update. Because, then you have to say to customers, something went wrong, go to the website, download the latest version and stuff like that. Normally, what we have is like yeah, a couple of weeks where every day it has nothing to do with the releasing.
Oh, okay.
The release pipeline is irrelevant to this. The release pipeline is just a matter of imposing your quality management process on top of the technology.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the technology under the hood has to be strong. So what I'm gonna do is tomorrow, after our meeting, we should be able to, yeah, it's even untested, you know, with the WordPress site, with the commerce and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh, we should go to somewhere where, like, you're now continuously testing on Steam. You know, that was an amazing
Yeah.
thing the moment that we had that implemented. The same way, every update that you want to test from Australia from, let's say, Wednesday on, should go via the installer system.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I can make sure that we have the Windows installer by then, you know, more or less working with crappy update screen version 01.
Yeah. But then
But
I
the
would
next
have
thing that we
to.
can we be able to make it with macOS and stuff.
Yeah. So in WooCommerce, I would have to create a like Asphalia beta product or Asphalia dev product, that clients don't see on the shop, but that I can purchase for myself.
Yeah, well, this is done. Well, for that we can still use the Soundstorm website. You know, like I can give you the link, which I have badly documented here, um, and we can have this entire update flow running like this. Um, Faking WooCommerce. The only thing that we have to make sure is that we can.
Well, we'd still have to test the WooCommerce part anyways, right? So, and the
Right,
stability
that's
of the
right.
website.
The
So,
let's say it like this. The most important part here is that can Asfalia, without authentication, without knowing anything about WooCommerce, download a patch, an update patch?
yeah.
Look, if they can't make it straight away, we can use the Soundstorm site as an update server.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So new customers will buy from https://fontomata.com slash blah 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 Asfalia installer.exe. But then all previous setups would come from a different website. This is also something that we can do.
Yeah. Maybe I can like do some URL rewriting temporarily so that we set up the URL to be the website of Fantomata, but we do rewrite the URL so it goes to Soundstorm instead. Maybe Soundstorm's not gonna like that, but
I'm pretty sure if these guys are a little bit WordPress savvy, that we can implement this in no time, that we just check for an API key. If
yeah.
somebody wants to download something
Well,
from this part of the WP
yeah.
content,
I suggest
this
we'll see
set
tomorrow.
it
We'll ask the
rewrite.
question. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Because I think it should be relatively simple,
yes,
and we shouldn't have to go through the
that's why it's called a simple update system, because this
yeah,
is really, it's complex to, you know, to start it up, because the process, it's not the technology, you know, it's the process
yeah,
of the logic of how you update and stuff like that. That's what makes it complicated.
yeah, 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 sure. Okay,
Okay, let's keep it here because I'm toast.
yeah, same here. So,
Okay.
anyways, thanks a lot. Can't
You're
wait
welcome.
for can't wait for everything to work.
Yeah,
It's gonna
we're
happen.
pretty close. We're pretty close. It's all, I've set it all up to be parameterizable as much as possible. Also, that when we come out with new Asphalia software in the future, that it's not going to take too much time. I didn't spend too much time on making it too general, but I didn't want to push you in a corner
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
if you start in this flow now, that for the other chapters you would be fucked.
Yeah.
So,
So,
yeah.
anyways, worst comes to worst. We can always just release on Steam, you know, and wait for the website release if there is something, or also like because we're still working on the game, so the game is not ready yet.
How far are you with in terms of the game?
Uh, there has been a bit of a lull in terms of the development of the final scene of the game. You know, it's really hard to finish a story, right? And so we've been iterating on that last scene, but now it's we're getting there, but every time it feels, oh, we've got this great idea, and it works a little bit, and then one thing that we thought would work doesn't, and we have to, you know, because right now the ending is falls a bit flat, and you know it's really important that the ending works, you know.
You have a cliffhanger. Do you have a cliffhanger?
Yeah, we do, but it doesn't feel like a cliffhanger. It's the
Ah, okay.
problem. So
That's an
like
important, like
Charlie wakes up in her bed. It's night, and then she gets out of bed and touches like a little star that starts flying around, and you follow the star. But suddenly you realize you're not in your home. You're in this weird place with where the sofa is upside down. There's some tentacles. There's weird shadows. The fridge is open with some roots getting out of there. And then you follow that star, and suddenly you're outside the house, and the star goes away. And it says, fear, you know, to be continued. And it's the star going away that still doesn't make sense. Like it just goes away, but why? Why does it matter? You know? And so we have to figure that
dog
out.
with her. Is the dog with her?
No, the dog is not there.
Yeah.
So
Otherwise, she's running and reaching for the star, but she doesn't mind her steps and she falls off a cliff.
yeah, no. We don't have a cliff. So I'm trying to get there, but without adding new assets. You know.
And
Uh,
she hangs on the cliff.
yeah. Okay. It is really time to go.
We're starting to get messed up.
Okay.
Um, okay,
See you tomorrow,
let's yes. See you tomorrow, my friend.
and have a good night. Get some sleep,
Right.
and
Yeah,
think.
then I'm gonna dream about this one.
Don't
Yeah.
think about code. Think about serialization.
It seems worse. That's even worse. Yes. Mr.
Goodbye.
Jean-Pierre, see you tomorrow, my friend.